Hey Ringside crew, welcome to the internationally known Dudes at Ringside podcast. And now here's your host, Joe Panther III.
Hello there, wrestling fans! To another episode of the internationally known Dudes at Ringside podcast. I am Joe Panther III. I'm dancing. And today we are adding another picture to my Australian Wall of Fame on the Dudes at Ringside podcast because this young lady is blazing a trail for herself. She's on next to the greats of lovely Savannah Summers. I don't know why she has three different versions of her, because Joe thinks she's absolutely fantastic. Sorry. Yeah, I have one on this side too, because she told me to put it over there so I could stand. Savannah, we love you. No creep. And I also have Izzy, and oh my gosh, so many awesome people that have been on this podcast over the years. But yeah, Australia really loves us over there. Down under, we love you. But we have another one to add to the wall. Let's give a warm Dudes at Ringside welcome to Miss Nova Nicholls.
Hello. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. Oh, I'm so excited. Thank you so much for having me. I cannot wait. This is so exciting. I love this. I've only ever done one other podcast in my career, so this is very exciting for me.
Where was that one from?
So there's a gentleman down here who does a podcast called What If It's Cool? And he's kind of our Victorian guy, and he's done all of my wrestling friends and a lot of other people. So he's the only other person that I've ever spoken to about, I guess, anything that you ask, really.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So let's go back in your career.
Oh, Jesus.
Who trained you?
So I was trained by a guy named Jason Crash. He owns the Adrenaline Professional Wrestling Company, which is where I started. So the first training session I went to was actually in a backyard. So our company started in someone's backyard. The ring was set up there. I remember messaging my friend who tried to get me into it. And I got to the house and I was like, is this the right address? Because I'm picturing some big gym and factory or something. And he's like, yeah, come on through the gate. And I walk in and there's a wrestling ring and some people. And I'm like, okay, this is strange. And yeah, I took a roll, took a bump, learned some things, and I never looked back. And that was nearly 7 years ago now. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Do you ever look back and see that and think, I was in somebody's backyard that cops could have pulled up?
All the time. Like the people because we're in a factory now, our third factory since starting the company. And a lot of people that come through, especially now, they're like, oh, look, I can't believe this is the place. This is so cool. And I'm like, yeah, count yourself lucky, because I was wrestling in a backyard in the rain. So you are blessed.
Rain, you could have the police barge in like episode of Cops.
Yeah. It was so strange because I just remember being like, why am I in someone's backyard? This is so weird. And I'm like, you know what? Suppose I'll just go with it. But that also means that I'm part of the history that is Adrenaline, because I was one of the handful of people that started back there and has come all this way to the factories and all that stuff to the things we've got now, which is super exciting to be part of.
So how old were you when you first decided that you thought when was the first time you saw your first professional wrestling match, or like indie match, or whenever?
So I was first introduced to WWE when I was probably 5, I want to say. My dad's a huge Stone Cold fan. I think everyone's dad's a huge Stone Cold fan. And I just remember sitting on the couch with him and watching shows. And Booker T was my dude. I don't know what it was about him, but I just thought he was a G. And then as I got older, I kind of fell out of it and then got back into it when I was maybe 9 or 10, and I could probably understand it a bit more. And I just, again, straight back into WWE. I didn't go to a local show until I started training, because I didn't know that pro wrestling was a thing in Australia. Growing up pretty not sheltered, but not someone who would go out of their way to watch anything other than WWE because I thought that was the only thing you could watch. I didn't know any of it existed. I thought it was just this American thing. I didn't know there were promotions down here doing stuff. So yeah, once I think I was like 14 when I first found out that wrestling schools were a thing because I met a guy who was training to be a wrestler. And then I didn't actually start going to shows and learning more about them until I started training myself.
Awesome. So,
Yeah.
like, what was your very first match you ever saw with the WWE?
Oh, now you're testing me. I think from memory, the one I can remember the most, I think it was like Finley versus Matt Hardy.
Is
And
that the one that Matt Hardy flipped over the top rope and got really embarrassed?
no, this was earlier than that. I just have like vivid memories of Matt Hardy being like cut open and like crimson mask, and I remember freaking out, going, "Oh my god, this is too real! I can't watch this. This is too much." Because I was like 9 at the time, and I was like,
Oh,
"I
wow.
can't watch it anymore." And then yeah,
They made Matt and Jeff go crazy sometimes like that. Do you
oh
remember
yeah,
the
100%.
TLC match? I do. Like, I still
Yeah,
remember watching it. Like,
yeah, it's wild because like it's just wild that they were willing to throw their body into danger's way because like 98% of professional wrestling is being willing to hurl your body into dangerous situations and just trust that you're going to be all right. But like jumping off a ladder that high and going through tables and stuff, like I
so like
don't know.
that, like, for you now, you do that stuff. Like, so have you ever like stepped back and like gone to watch some of your older stuff, like some of your younger stuff, and then gone, "Oh, maybe I should have did this instead of that."
Oh yeah, all the time. I always look back, um, especially on my matches. The second they drop, I'll watch it and I'll rip it apart and be like, I should have done this better. I should have done that better. But the beauty of being a professional wrestler is you don't have to do things perfectly. If there's a little bit of like not sloppiness, but like realism to it where you do mess something up, the crowd appreciate that more. Like you freak out about messing something up in a match and what feels like 10 seconds to you in the ring is 1 millisecond to the crowd. They're not going to notice. They're not going to know that that wasn't supposed to be there or you weren't supposed to kick them then. They don't know any of that stuff. Only you and your opponent know that kind of stuff. So I always look back and go, oh, I probably should have done this, but it doesn't matter now because that's happened, and I just got to remember that for the next time. I got to implement the things I want to fix into the next one to make it even better.
So, like, who do you remember your first match? And if you do, what were you thinking when you went through the curtain for the first time? And who was it?
My first match was against the guy who actually got me into wrestling. So his name is James Marshall. And I remember this came about because the show that it was on, there was supposed to be another women's match, and one of the women had to pull out. So the owner of the company asked me to step up, and I'd only been training for like 5 or 6 months at this point, and I was like, "Oh, are you sure? Like, you really want me?" He's like, "Yeah." So I was going to wrestle this other woman, and that other woman ended up pulling out too because just things happen and come up. And he's like, "Well, I don't want you to not wrestle because I've already told you you can. So I'm going to find you someone else." And the guy that got me into the company, he's like, "I'll do it." So we were the first intergender match for our company. And I distinctly remember going through the curtain and just like shaking and being so nervous, but so excited because the guy that it was against, everyone hated him. He was the biggest bad guy in our company at the time. And I think the fact that I was a badass girl, and B, someone was finally going to punch him in the head. That's what people loved. And then, yeah, it was over like that because, being a baby, I kind of just rushed through things and yeah, it was so much fun. Like, it was probably one of the few times in my career where I felt no pressure. I just went out there and did it because I'd never done it before. So, you got to start somewhere. And I remember coming backstage and I kind of just like leapt into the owner of the company's arms and he gave me a huge bear hug and he's like, I'm so proud of you. And I was crying. And yeah, the first match was probably one of the most special ones because it was the first. Is the starting point for what was going to be a very up and down wild ride.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
like now that you're a wrestler and you're like
Mhm.
you have a little like grit under your tires, is there any other place in Australia or like any other place in the world that you would like to travel to perform that you haven't like had a chance to do it yet?
I'd love to go to the other states in Australia. So I've been offered opportunities in other states, but the timing just doesn't line up because unfortunately I just live a very busy schedule. So yeah, I'd love to go around and see other states. And like if I could go to other countries, that would be cool. Um, Pro wrestling's a really tough thing to do in other places. Um, so if the opportunity came up, I definitely would consider it and do it. But it would all come down to what my options are, because unfortunately, the person behind Nova is just very busy and has to worry about real life stuff before
Yeah.
wrestling stuff. So if the opportunities arose and I could do it, I absolutely would do it. But I suppose I would just see what happens. I'm dope going along with the ride down here, doing what I'm doing, and I'd be even more happy if I got other opportunities. But I'm cool either way. Whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, I totally get that because me being this podcast, people think like, oh, you're always interviewing all the people and all those plans. I'm like, do you realize real life Joe, aka Randy Joseph, um, is
Yeah.
sitting there sitting at the counter. Everybody else thinks Joe's sitting at his desk all the time, talking to all these international guests, getting all these bookings, and I'm sitting at my job, sitting there, with soaps up to my elbows, doing
Yeah.
dishes during the regular
Yeah.
days, and want to go to indie show with
I'm
that fake Indian tear, going, I wish I was off today.
yeah.
I was
I'm at my
sitting in the
retail
front
job on
row watching
I
wrestling. Yeah.
I end the show on a Saturday night. I rest Sunday. Then on Monday, I go back to my regular retail job, back to being normal me, no wrestling, no nothing. And then when I clock out on Friday, I kick back into wrestling mode. And it's almost like Hannah Montana living a double life.
I wish I could do like that, but then I realized I don't get paid. Everybody, me and this podcaster were saying it 2 days ago when I was live. Named John, what's going on? Definitely check out John around the road podcast from America. Definitely, I'll have to send him you. He would definitely love to have you on. He's a nice guy. Um,
Yes.
we all do this for free. I don't get paid to do this
Mhm.
podcast. I'm not my YouTube channel is only at 1,000 something in subscribers, but I do this for the love of wrestling. I do this in the memory of my grandfather, which wrestled in the 50s and 60s. I'm
Yeah.
keeping his
Yeah.
name alive. And everybody's like,
That,
"Oh, you could just take a month off or take a year off." It's fine. That is everything, but I love helping you guys. I
yeah.
love getting that message from you. Oh my god, I can't wait to come on your podcast. I'm so excited. That's my drive. That keeps me going. Like
Yeah.
last March, I thought I was gonna be like putting up the glasses in the hall in my little imaginary wall box and putting the polos aside just to take a year off and stop doing it. And I
Yeah.
said no. My parents said no. Keep going. Your co-host wanted to leave. He wanted to go and do his own thing. So I
Yeah.
just kept going. And it's just something that's like a journey. I've wanted to do this since I was a little boy. And I
Yeah.
wanted
You
to
always
be
find your way back. Like,
yeah.
even if, because like I did take the year off. I did take the big hiatus, and I ended up finding my way back here even better than the first time around. So you always find a way back to where you're supposed to be. Like, if this is definitely where we're supposed to be, which feels like it is, we always find our way back to it.
And I have wrestlers that I haven't spoken to since last March that will never talk to me again from different countries or like parts of the East Coast that I'm like. But then there's wrestlers that I've messaged that haven't messaged me. But then there's people that I like you. I thought you were from the States and you're from Australia, and you bing bing bing, and we finally got this, and you're with me on the screen now. Like, so like if we like if my fans from the States, like the East Coasters and stuff like that, if you could do a top 5, maybe if you want to do a top 6, if they would if you want to build them up to them like about you, what would you give them to hype them up about you that to make you want to get some American fans?
Righty. I
Oof.
am. I'm probably one of the toughest people you'll ever meet. I'm a powerhouse. I'm a huge powerhouse. I stand at almost 6 foot. I can run with the big dogs. I'm just all around one of the hardest working, toughest people you'll meet. I have to stand on a roster with a bunch of men, and I can stand with them easily. I have worked so hard to be the version that you see. And if you go to my profile, my Instagram, you'll see it's hard to put into words why I am brilliant, because I never really see myself as brilliant. But I think I'm one of the toughest people, rough as guts, tough as nails, just a badass. I'm just all around a badass. And I never say that about myself. I never hype myself up because I kind of just let my personality speak for itself. But yeah, I'm a huge badass. I can stand toe to toe with some of the toughest people you'll ever meet. I don't give up. I don't give in. I am that bitch. That's all I
Yeah, there
can
you go.
say. I am
There
that
you go.
bitch.
Is there
But
any
that's
wrestlers from Australia, male or female, that you have on your go get 'em list for
um
2024?
the biggest one, and she's been my goal for years, is Vixen. So Vixen is a pioneer in women's wrestling in Australia. She's been doing this for, I don't even know how many years. And like, she's one of the sweetest, loveliest people I've ever met. And yeah, she's a huge inspiration to me. And like this year, she's been asking the company I wrestle for repeatedly, "Can I wrestle Nova already, please?" Like, we've been trying to wrestle each other for years. Natasha Valentine is another one. She's a huge inspiration to me as well. We actually share a locker room at my home company, and yeah, she was actually the first woman that I saw training and wrestling. So she's friends with the guy who got me into my company, and they trained together at her old company. And he's like, "I need you to check this girl out. Like, she's really cool." And yeah, she is tiny. She's 5 foot something. She would have to be like here on me, like,
Oh
but
wow.
she is a powerhouse, dude. She is one of the most powerful, strongest girls I know. Like, she is. If I'm a badass, she's badder, dude. Like, not even kidding. And then, like, obviously, not only just the women. There's a bunch of, because I predominantly wrestle the men, because like the pool of women in Australian wrestling is a lot smaller. We just do a lot of intergender stuff down here because wrestling is wrestling. We don't care about the male female aspects. I finally built up the courage to wrestle the guy that trained me. So my whole career, I've been too afraid to step in a ring with him. I was like, no way, absolutely not, no way. And then earlier this year, I finally turned around and went, all right, you got me. I'll wrestle you. So that was really exciting, very nerve wracking, but it meant more to me than I think he could possibly ever imagine, because that's the guy that built me. That's the guy that picked me up when I was in a really bad time when I came to wrestling, and put me back on my feet and pushed me to be the version of myself that I am. He's been through all the pain and the heartbreak and the tears, but he's also been there through all of the exciting things that has happened to me. And yeah, he's probably one of the most important people in the world to me, purely because of everything that he's done for me. So the list of people I want to wrestle is huge. But I'm more excited about the list of people who want to wrestle me, because it always means a lot to me when people come up and say, I really want to wrestle you, because that's when you know that you're doing something right. When people come up and go, I really want to get in the ring with you. So I'm down to wrestle whoever. It's whoever's down to wrestle me is the list that I'm more excited about.
I want to see you wrestle Savannah.
I think that'd be dope. I don't even
And
know if
she's
she
a
knows who I
legend.
am, but I know who she is.
She's a legend. That's like one of the legends. Like, I begged her, I'm like, please come to America. Just come as like just an
she's so
appearance, just
short.
once to come to PPW. Just
100%.
come and then leave. Like, just come see me and we'll just sit next to each other and laugh and watch wrestling together. That's like my dream is like when you guys come to the States and now I'm ringside and I'm just freaking out because you're like, you give me a giant hug and you're like, oh my God, it's Joe. Oh my God. Like everybody also just be like, oh, it's just Joe, you know. I've seen that little bastard 10,000 times. And when you my Australian buddies like you or Savannah or Izzy or one of them are just freaking out. Like I think Savannah would just be like, oh my God, it's Joe. He's wearing my shirt. Look at that. Look at that. And but you would be like,
I'd be
everybody's
so
like,
excited.
oh, Joe. And you're like, Joe, like
Yeah,
freaking out.
I would scream and run. I'd be so bloody excited.
I'm little, so I'd be like, where'd you go? Oh, he's right there.
Yeah.
I'm 5'1". As you said, the girls are 5 foot. I'm 5'1". So I'm like up here. I'm like here. I'm boob level.
Yeah, you'll be up my my chest. Yeah,
Like,
I'm probably one of the tallest females in Victoria, in Melbourne. There is
wow.
one who's like slightly taller than me. Her name is Tali. She's like only just taller than me, I think. But with all the women, especially on the companies that I've worked for, I'm usually at least a head or a foot taller than most of them, which is what sets me apart. It's like a blessing and a curse almost, because like people look at me and go, oh dude, she's a monster, I'm not gonna fuck with her. But then people look at me and go, she's a monster, dude, what the hell, compared to all the other women.
Yeah.
So it's a real catch-22. Like on one hand I have this huge big powerhouse and I stand out, but then I stand out for being so big.
It's like that movie with Deuce Bigelow, Male Gigolo.
Yeah.
That's a big bitch.
Yeah, legit. Like
it's like
when
us
it comes
walking
to
it's like me and you walk into your table and it's just and all the guys are going, someone yells, that's a big bitch. Dad, stop. That's not nice.
That's why I love Freya the Slayer so much, because she is so tall and such a powerhouse, but because she's so feminine and beautiful as well, it's just awesome. She's a big inspiration of mine, Freya the Slayer, because she's just a unit, but she owns that. And like that's what I always try and do. I always try and own the fact that, yeah, I'm a big bitch. I'm huge, I'm tall, I'm built like a brick shithouse, but also, you know, just one of the girls. Sometimes you do just want to be one of the girls, and I am just one of the girls. Like as much as I'm rough as guts, I'm also, you know, female, which I think people forget sometimes.
I know how I can lure all my female wrestling friends to come on the podcast, and females that I haven't been on the podcast. I'll just open. It's like, you know, when you like shake a bag of snacks. Like
Yeah.
I need more Australian female wrestlers to come on the podcast. So just do this. Maybe they'll hear click click click. Little feet.
Yeah.
Or literally you're gonna laugh, little feet, because you know you said a lot of them are short. So just have to shake a bottle of wine. Like
they're all so tiny.
I
Like
have to
there's
do this. So the wind cat the wine smell, and the girls are like,
yeah, whiff it in, girls, come on in. Yeah.
That's not true. Every girl is gonna be like that. Watch the female wrestlers that are friends. You're like, I saw your interview with Joe Panther. How dare him say we would run for wine?
I mean, we would. Let's not
Yes.
let's not pretend like we wouldn't.
I like wine. I'll be sitting there like I'll make it like it's on like it's like a sign-in sheet. I'll be sitting there like
we have this wine in Australia called Gossip Lips. It's like $5 a bottle. And the pink Moscato one, dude.
if I had the money and it wouldn't cost me $22, I'd be like sending you an extra T-shirt with the bottle of wine wrapped in a wine bottle. Like, you know what's funny? I haven't thought about this. I should definitely, if I lived in the wine country, I'd make a Dudes at Ringside wine.
Oh, do you know how well that would sell? Oh my god!
Called slamming Dudes at Ringside slamming wine.
Oh, see, it sells itself.
I would have to have every other bottle. I have like a pinkish purple one would be Savannah Summers.
Yeah.
A Savannah Severs, a special.
Oh, see, that just sounds elegant. It sounds
Yes.
delicious.
Has Savannah like with the butterfly wings with the wine bottle over her head like this, and it's just like the bottle coming out of the top of her wings.
See, that's perfect.
But I have to have one exclusive for you too. So it'd be like
Mine would have to be
Amazonian.
space themed.
Yeah.
Have to be space themed.
Yes.
Aliens and stuff.
Oh gosh, have drunk alien just drinking in the
Yep.
fields.
That is perfect. I couldn't think of anything better than that.
We're thinking. We're going gimmicks on us.
We're building a business here.
Yes, international business. No one knows.
Yep.
We're secretly business partners. It's like Vince McMahon. It was me, Austin. The Boss.
Yeah.
Mom's
Yeah.
like, who started this? This lady I just met like a week ago on the Instagram. Like, he started a business. Hey, Mom, here you go. Like, this is my business partner. Sure,
Yeah,
to
legit.
wine. But we live in the woods, Randy. Have never had wine from the woods. No, there's no such thing.
I live in the middle of like what's called the southeastern suburbs in Melbourne, which is just suburbia. So there's like no woods around me. There's nothing
If
around
you
me
came
but like
by me, you'd
the
be
town.
freaked out. I live in trees for miles.
Oh, see, that's like my family live up in a place like that where there's just trees, and I would love to live there. I'd
It's
love to live in a
beautiful.
place that's not a nightmare all the time. Like
It's
it's not
so
like
nice, but it's annoying. Like
yeah.
at night when I first moved here, it was so dark that I literally did this, and I was like, like it freaked me out. So dark, and I leave the window open, and at night it's like crickets are having it's like crickets are having the rumble.
Yeah.
I just heard a loud beep. I was wondering what that was.
Oh, sorry. That would be my internet because for some reason every now and then it just beeps because Australian internet is trash.
Oh, geez, you're good.
I love my
Yeah.
I love my country with every ounce of my being, but you'd think that being in the day and age we are, we'd figure out how to get the fucking internet right.
Oh
No.
God. Yeah. So, let's go into some of your matches. Like, so who are you? Like, who are you in a rivalry with? Let's also talk about your stable that you're part of.
So, currently, I'm in a rivalry with a guy named EVO. Actually, on Friday, I lost my very first title, my breakout championship, to Will Walker. So here's another guy that I was kind of feuding with, but not to the fault of my own. So I never got pinned. My shoulders were not pinned. EVO's were pinned because he decided that I wrestled EVO and I beat him. I wrestled Will Walker and I beat him. And those two were not happy. Those two demanded a rematch. They said, you don't deserve to be champion. I deserve it. And I said, I'll take you both on. Now, I won't lie, the numbers game got the better of me because unfortunately, when you've got one person in the ring, you can follow them, you can track them, you can stay on top of them. But when there's another body you have to worry about, trying to divide your attention between the two of them and stay on the two of them can be hard. So I'm not done with EVO, not by a long shot. He cost me my title. So I've got some things to sort out with him. And as for Will Walker, he better hold on to that title very tightly because I will be coming back for it. I will get it back from him. That is a promise.
And that's the magic of Dudes at Ringside. You will.
Yeah. And then my stable. So I'm in a group called the Cooters. The members are Frankie Grime, JP Bamford, Robbie Parker, and Jimmy Burton. These boys were a stable before I joined, and I joined them in February of this year. I'm the only female member, but that's how I love it. And yeah, these boys started wrestling in a backyard. They were trained in a backyard, and you know they've been this really tight knit group. I only met these boys, I want to say, a year and a bit ago when they started wrestling for my company, and I started wrestling for their home company. We kind of started interacting a bit more, and I remember for the longest time, I was like, they're really cool. I'd love to be part of their group. And there was one show where they were getting photos done, and I jumped in as a joke. And then from there, everyone kind of went to them and went, you should really put her in your team. She looks like she just kind of slots in really nicely. And I was like, oh, they would tell me the same thing. And I'm like, I can't just go up and ask to be in their team. Like, that's not cool. And then I remember they asked me, like, would you want to do this with us? Because I've been wrestling a lot longer than them. And like I've been doing this a lot longer. So they're like, do you want to do this with us? And I was like, I've been waiting for you guys to ask me for months. You have no idea how badly I wanted to join. So yeah. So at one company, I'm a cooter, but at another company, I am not. Not yet, anyway. We don't know what the future holds. But yeah, being part of the Cooters is one of my favorite things I've ever done in my career. Like, I've done some cool stuff, but being a Cooter is probably in my top 3 things I've gotten to do. So the one company I am a Cooter at, the other company where I'm not, I'm in a stable called the Party Crashers. So that is Jason Crash and the team of B Squared, which is LDZ and PJ Red. Being in their team is also super important to me because they're just such a wonderful group of guys. Both groups are such a wonderful group of guys. Being the only female in 2 all-male stables can sometimes get not intimidating, but a little bit nerve-wracking because I have to keep up with all of them. But they are also supportive and so wonderful to me that it's like I'm in a team with all my brothers. It just means a lot to me that they're all so wonderful to me. But yeah, the Cooters and the Party Crashers are my two groups, 2 of my favorite things that I've gotten to do. And yeah, they're all just wonderful guys, all of them. They're such genuinely good blokes.
So you're being such a badass and like a tough P.
Mhm.
So is there like a limit, like with a match? Have you ever had to like say no to like a certain match style, or are you down for any kind of match?
The only thing I probably won't do is a death match.
Yep,
No
that was
hate
on
to
the top of
anyone.
my tongue. That was about to
No,
say, will you
no
do that?
hate. No hate to anyone who does them because I a lot of my friends do them. There's a company in Victoria which is just based around them, and a lot of my friends wrestle for them, and I think it's so cool that they do that. I personally wouldn't do it. It's just not my thing, but it's okay because it doesn't have to be my thing. That's the beauty of wrestling, is not everything's going to be for you. I've done street fight. I've done a street fight, and I've done a no disqualification. I've done weapons, but yeah, I just probably wouldn't do the death match. The one thing I promised my mother when I started wrestling was that I wouldn't bleed. So trying to uphold that end of the bargain as best as I can.
Keep Mama Nova happy.
Yeah, pretty much.
Mama Nicholls, keep her from getting upset.
She was very against me wrestling at the start. She just did not like it at all because she knows it's dangerous. But she's come around. She's probably her and my dad, 2 of my biggest supporters. But there's still moments in wrestling and there's still things I do where she goes, and she's still not a big fan. So if the line that she's drawn is me not doing a death match, I will respect that, considering she's put up with a lot of other shit that I've done in wrestling. So
I've heard some crazy stuff, and we actually had in the past, we had a wrestler from, he's like a deathmatch chicken. Like he wears a luchador. He works for Deathmatch Down Under.
Is it Valito by any chance?
Yeah, Valito.
Valito is one of my best friends.
Well, Valito, he's gonna lay an egg. I haven't spoken to Valito in about 3 years.
Valito is a wild card.
I haven't seen him on Instagram. He totally changed his Instagram or something. I haven't seen him on there.
Yeah, Deathmatch Chicken. Yeah, that sounds like Valito.
Yeah, Valito changed everything. Like his Instagram, he has a promo on the page. You have to keep scrolling, but he has a promo there.
He's I'm pretty sure he did a death match last night for Australian Outlaw Wrestling. That's where you'll see him. And yeah, there were tubes, there were doors, there was glass, and I'm like, that's cool. Not for me. Not my
He's
cup of
such a
tea.
nice guy. Like he came
Oh,
on our
yeah.
podcast and he wore a fire jacket.
That sounds like him. Yep.
Like, yep, he wore his fire jacket. I miss him. I
He-
miss when you speak to him and we're done with this, get on the phone and text him, say, someone needs to speak to you. And he says, who? Be like, Joe Panther the Third on Instagram. Did
He and
you
I were a
block
team.
him?
He and I were a team called Supercharged Supernovas. So we were a team for a little bit there. He's he's really, really good dude.
He's
One of my
funny. I
favorite
love his
people.
voice. I love his attitude.
Oh, yeah.
I love his energy. Like
He's a wild card. At shows, he'll have like a scoop of pre-workout before he goes out, and he is just on. Like he runs circles. Like during his entrance, and I watch him run, and I'm sitting there going, dude, I'd be gassed. I couldn't do the match. I'd lie down in the middle of the ring and be like, I'm done. Just from that alone.
have you had a chance
insane.
to wrestle yet or no?
No. We've only teamed together. We haven't wrestled against each other, which is good because he'd run circles around me, and I
He's
just have
probably
to
trying to make
flatten
it a
his
death
ass.
match. I could see him trying to throw in a death match.
He would definitely push for it, and I'd be like, I don't think, darling. Let's
You should
reel
just
it
throw
in.
him through. Oh my god! You should make it an opposite death match that nothing ever hits you, and you you never.
And I just
bleed.
straight hit him. Yeah, I just straight
Oh my
destroy
gosh!
him.
The whole match is just you're just throwing everything at him, literally everything.
And
You're
the
hitting him
kitchen
with a
sink,
chair. You're hitting him with a light tube. You're hitting him, or you're throwing him through everything. Like
Yeah.
should make like his character somehow, some reason hits his head. Oh my god! Storyline. His character falls in love with you, and you're
Oh my
like,
god.
it's like the Dominic and Rhea storyline, but he falls in love with you, and you're like, no, please. If I beat you in this match, death match, you have to date me or go on a date, and you're like, oh, fine. But the whole match is you just he never hits you with anything. He goes to hit you, and you're like, no, I can't hit you, and then you just
beating the shit out of him.
and you're just beating the shit out of him like the whole match, like throwing him through light tubes, throwing him through doors.
Oh my god, I'd beat the shit out of him, poor guy.
Just set the chair up like this. You just like powerbomb him through a seated chair. Just like
I asked my fiance, would he do a stip match with me? And he's like, nah. And I was like, what? Because like I've wrestled my fiance before. He's the one I won the title off the first time. So it's really funny because outside of wrestling, everyone obviously knows that we're together. But inside of wrestling, we're enemies. We've feuded for a while. No one knows we're engaged, except when, like, after I distinctly remember there was one show where we wrestled against each other, and then the next day we're out at the supermarket holding hands normally, and my friend told me that his friend and kid were at the supermarket, and obviously me and my fiance holding hands being normal, and the kid turns to their dad and goes, I thought they didn't like each other. And I was like,
oh,
we've just ruined this kid's life. So
you just broke this kid's wrestling world forever. It's like
there's been so many times where I've turned to my fiance and be like, can we just team together already? He's like, no, we have to stay as enemies, because the way we see it is in wrestling, we're not intertwined at all. We're not together. We're not engaged. We're just two workers that are against each other. But outside of wrestling, that's where our normal life is. Like we try and keep our wrestling life and normal life as separate as they can be, with us obviously being on the same roster. Because, like we don't want to be like linked together. We both want different things for our careers that didn't involve us being stuck together like this. So like he has his own group called Conflict Axiom. He does his own thing, and I've got my own things that I'm doing. And then we do them alongside each other, but we don't do them with each other, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh my god, that kid had Doc
traumatized.
Brown. That kid had the Doc Brown, but make a wrestling side. He's breaking the time continuum. He's breaking the wrestling code.
That kid went home, looked out a rainy window, and went, "My whole life is a lie."
There's a meme there's a give that he has that Kermit the Frog meme looking out the window crying like with the teacup.
That's that poor kid.
All I can think is
we've ruined
somewhere
this kid's life.
that child is looking at the autographed picture of you and him, like on his a table or in his book, going, "It's a lie! It's a lie!" Like watching a video on his video, like here we go, old school, watching the DVD on his little tape player in his house, then watching the match, and he's crying, and he's like, "Why are you crying, son? This match was a lie. They really
Yeah.
in love. Like they're in love. They're married. They're engaged. It's not a lie."
It's funny because like the hardcore fans of my home company, they know that he and I are engaged. Like they've seen us together before shows, after shows, and stuff. We do our best to stay away from each other, but they know because they know us on a personal level. But they never bring it up because almost like they're too afraid to. Like there'll be one fan that's always like, "Oh, I'm a big fan of that guy," and I'm like, "Shh, don't tell anyone. It's a secret." But yeah, we it's really being having a fiance on the same roster as you, as awesome as it is. It's also been very difficult at times because as a wrestler, I love watching him do things because he's incredible. But as a fiance, I hate watching him do things because I watch like this. I'm like, I can't watch you flip off the top rope. I can't do it because if you fall, it's gonna suck for me. And like,
You'll be
there's
taking
been
care of you'll be the wet nurse forever. Then
yeah, legit. There goes my career. I have to babysit him for the rest of my life.
you'll
But
be doing what I do opposite with the food. You'll be like the nurse that takes care of him, saying, "How's your knee? Broken again?
yeah,
You're still broken toy." Mm-hmm.
there's been like there were points in our career where I had a dream, I had a goal, and he achieved that goal before I did, and there was a lot of things that I had to process and be okay with because like obviously as his partner, I'm gonna support him and be proud of that fucking beep. Sorry, as his
It
partner.
censored you. Oh no.
Yeah. As his partner, I'm incredibly proud of everything he does because he's brilliant. But as a wrestler on the roster with him, you can't help but think, what did I do that wasn't enough for him to get picked over me? So I had to deal with a lot of that. And luckily he is the best person in the entire world. And we got through it together. And then the opportunity came where you know, I got to wrestle him for what I wanted, which was the breakout title. That's all I've ever wanted in my career was to win that championship. And I got to win it from him. So it was a really special moment for both of us that I got to overcome this feeling of you, not that you took my dream away, but you got to it before I did. But then I got to share it with him in the end. So that's the beautiful thing about wrestling is everything happens for a reason.
Yep.
And that's life too. Everything happens for a reason. I took my extended hiatus for a good reason. And if anything, it's been the best thing I ever did in my career because it gave me a second chance. It gave me a chance to come back and basically start from scratch and rebuild. And because of that, I've done so many incredible things in this year alone. Like this is just the start of what has been the rebuild essentially. And I can't wait to see what the next few years holds because I'm on this really good trajectory of putting in the work and doing good things.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
if my fans want to follow you on social media, how can they find you?
So my Instagram is Nova_Nicholls. You can find me on the Adrenaline Professional Wrestling YouTube page. You can find me on X. I don't use it, but you can see me there under Supernova APW. And my Facebook is just simply Nova Nicholls. You'll see me like this in the profile picture, and you'll know it's me. I don't have my glasses on for obvious reasons, but yeah, Instagram is where I'm the most active. So Nova_Nicholls is where you'll find me.
Awesome. And now let's get into it. Before we go, where can they find your lovely merch?
They can send me messages directly because I do not have a link or anything, unfortunately. You can get some dope ass stickers, or you can get the Cooter Country shirt. You can message the Cooters for that, which is the_Cooters. And you can get my dope ass shirt as well. I don't know if you can see it, if I'm doing it well. That's my shirt. So you can message me directly on Instagram. I don't have a lot of sizes left, but I am getting a restock soon, and there is also a new design dropping soon. I'm just working out the last few bits of it. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Before we go,
Mhm.
if there's any kids that wanted to get into the business like you did, and they're just starting training, and they're like, "Oh, I don't know if this is for me." Like, what kind of advice would you have for them?
Don't give up. There was so many points in my career where I wanted to give up because the anxiety that I had just told me I couldn't do it. You can do it. The beautiful part about wrestling is you get to pretend to be someone else, even if it's just for 10 minutes. And that someone else is going to help you be more confident in your everyday life. Back yourself, believe in everything you do, and don't ask what if, just do it. Because that is what saved my entire career and my life. Just back yourself.
Awesome. Miss Nova Nicholls, I want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We finally got together after
Yes.
a year, and then I had a mistake before we had a big blunder, I think, with the whole interview last year. But we did it. We're here. We did it. We finally got through it, and we made it through the awesome adventure with Joe. I'm Joe Panther III,
I am Nova Nicholls.
and we will catch you in the next one.